In his prime, Mesut Özil was one of the most talented playmaking midfielders. With his retirement from professional football, we brought him back to manage his first club, Schalke 04. The task at hand is simple: save Schalke's season. They're on the verge of relegation back to Bundesliga 2, but there's still a chance they stay up. I try not to make too many changes to the original squad to see where we might end up, but with 25 million to spend, I have a specific player in mind. At just 18 years old, Arda Güler is one of Turkey's most promising prospects and draws his fair share of similarities to Mesut Özil. The left-footed center-attacking midfielder is rumored to leave Fenerbahce this summer, with clubs from each of the world's top 5 leagues keeping tabs on him. It's a 7 million deal as Güler takes on the number 10 for us at Schalke. Showing great potential, we were able to acquire him for his current evaluation. No homegrown talent in this save, but we still have a promising player in Gregor Papadopoulos. At a 57 rating, the Greek striker has 78 to 94 potential. It's also a great last name because Schalke had a Greek defender in Kyriakos Papadopoulos. With Schalke balancing between promotion and relegation, I think their youth academy system has taken a hit, but we'll be upgrading upon this 3-star scout, signing a 5-star scout from Germany, along with a 5-star scout from Ukraine. Our first German scout staying in his home country as he searches for any type of player, also establishing a network in Turkey as we look for a technically gifted talent. Schalke is one of those Bundesliga clubs that sees a lot of signings from the United States, so we'll be looking for a physically strong player here. But our Bundesliga season sees it start away against Wolfsburg. Here is the starting 11. Güler going straight into the first team, playing that pivotal center attacking mid role. Unfortunately, we get the loss in our season opener, but still a valiant effort. And simulating forward until December, we have the Revier Derby against Dortmund. And as things stand, both of us are struggling in the table. Dortmund especially so. And to make matters even worse for them, we saw a 3-2 victory despite only having 3 shots. We'll enter the January transfer window with some confidence. As results stand, we are not in a relegation or promotion playoff final spot. The Bundesliga title also up for grabs as each of the top 4 teams only have 3 points separating them. I think our biggest issue moving forward is some of these morale issues in our first team, but perhaps the promotion of one of our youth academy players can boost team spirit. Papadopoulos up to a 61 rating, and now 84 to 90 potential. It's great timing as well because we have a crucial away fixture against Werder Bremen, and with just a few match days remaining, both of us are fearing relegation. Bremen was the club that catapulted Özil's career and eventually saw his transfer to Real Madrid, and it seems like we got tactics right in this one as we saw a 1-0 victory. When the season was all said and done, that victory against Bremen was the difference maker as we ultimately finished 13th in the league. Bayern in typical fashion see a second half of the season resurgence and win the league by 15 points. Dortmund also rebounding and securing a top 4 spot. The bottom half of the table will see Bochum and Werder Bremen both earning relegation. Freiburg will be competing against the 3rd place team in Bundesliga 2. Darmstadt and Nuremberg with automatic promotion to Germany's top flight, and Greuther 4th end up winning the promotion playoff final with a comeback 3-0 win in the second leg of the fixture. Bayern with at least 2 trophies this season as they win the DFB Pokal against RB Leipzig on penalties, and the Bundesliga reigning supreme in the UEFA Super Cup with Eintracht Frankfurt defeating Real Madrid. City victorious in the Champions League final against Atleti. It's Lazio to defeat Arsenal in the Europa League. Real Sociedad will close out the European competitions with a win against West Ham in the Conference League. This was a remarkable send-off season for Simon Terodde, retiring at year's end. He got 20 goals in the Bundesliga. He'll share the Golden Boot award with Iglesias from Bayern. Impressive to see Oljan from the left back position earning the most assists for the team. He'll rank us 13th best in the league for that category, with Nkunku having the most assists in the Bundesliga. One area that we'll need to address moving forward is all these players that are currently at the club on loan. Each of them were in the starting 11, and I don't think we'll have enough funds to sign them all on a permanent basis. So we'll need to pick and choose who is most important to the Schalke team. I'm excited to share some updates on youth academy player promotion, starting with a Turkish talent. Metin Kara is a 63 rated center forward / center attacking mid. The 17-year-old has 86 to 92 potential. Julius Klein is up next. The 59 rated German center forward / striker has 87 to 93 potential. And finally, a representative from the United States, Ryan Taylor, 59 rated, another center forward / striker with 80 to 94 potential. We achieved our goal of avoiding relegation. Perhaps we can make even more strides next year. Season 2 is Schalke, and it's a rebuilding year ahead. There have been a lot of departures from our first team that we'll need to find a way to make up for. But if you could assist me like a prime Mesut Özil and drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Our board objectives this year sees a prevalent amount of financial restrictions, but we need to try to take the step up in the Bundesliga and finish mid-table. Our budget with a slight increase from last year, and ultimately I settled on Tom Kraus as one of our loaned-in players to sign on a permanent basis. He's been well received by Schalke fans. The RB Leipzig Youth Academy talent has shown leadership and could develop into a future captain. Having received a real face scan over the course of FIFA 23, the box-to-box midfielder is the perfect signing in career mode, and if Schalke can't avoid relegation, there is an obligation to sign him on a permanent. This is going to use a good chunk of our total transfer budget, but I think this is a long-term player for us. 10 million was the finalized deal, just 1 million more than his current evaluation. With a long history of American players at Schalke like Weston McKennie and Matthew Hoppe in recent years, I wanted to sign a player from the United States early in this rebuild, and Brandon Vasquez is a striker that has been on the rise. He's part of an FC Cincinnati team that sits top of the Eastern Conference in MLS, reportedly scouted by a few Bundesliga and Premier League sides including Mönchengladbach and Everton. Don't be shocked to see him being a summer signing in Europe. It seems like some of that hype has translated over to career mode as well, as we spent 12.5 million to finalize this deal. His evaluation currently sits at 8 million, but it was a transfer that needed to be done with Toyota retiring. We'll strengthen up our defense by signing Basel's Andy Pelmar. It doesn't seem like that long ago that Schalke completed the transfer of Breel Mbolo from Basel. That was when he peaked in career mode with an 88 potential in FIFA 17. But as for Pelmar, he had a loan spell from Nice at Basel, which has turned into a permanent deal. He seems like a player with good potential, and for just 7.5 million, he's certainly going to improve our defense. We were able to sign him just above his evaluation of 6.5 million. Our last transfer of the summer will be Loris Karius, a player that continues to be in the headlines. Most recently in a more positive note, as he put in a solid shift for Newcastle in the Carabao Cup final against Manchester United. Although Newcastle didn't win the match, Karius made some good saves and pretty much did all you could ask for a keeper that hasn't featured regularly this season. I think it's going to be a competition between Karius and Fairmont for the #1 spot, as we completed the signing for 1 million, significantly less than what he's evaluated at over at Newcastle. The main reason we were able to pull off so many of these signings is we saw a couple player departures. Jordan Larsson, his future isn't too certain at Schalke, so we let him leave to Rayo Vallecano for 7.5 million. Dries Walter is heading to Besiktas on a 2.5 million deal. And Timothy Kulajicek will sign at AZ for 1.5 million. A new season of scouting and new positions to cover as we search for a goalkeeper from Germany. Brazil being one of the top nationalities at Schalke, it's going to be a search for a technically gifted talent here. And finally, we'll be scouting out Denmark, searching for a physically strong player. 3 winnable matches in our first season of Bundesliga action, and a new look starting 11 at Schalke. Fairmont keeping the captain's armband for now, but that is subject to change. And Güler has shifted to one of his secondary positions so that we could incorporate Salazar into the starting 11. Unfortunately, we lose again in our season opener, but we'll check on results in January 2024. And we sit in a decent spot in the league. 12th place is an improvement from last season. For a lot of this rebuild, we're going to see the same 4 teams kind of shifting positions in the top 4 spots, with Leverkusen leading the league as things stand. Fairmont, unfortunately on the decline, has lost his starting spot to Karius, with Kraus now taking over as the captain here at Schalke. Offers also coming in for Güler and starting to add up to a considerable amount. Interest from Spain, Italy, and England, but it was just one departure in January, as Polter leaves to Norwich on a 1.5 million transfer. Our league position didn't move much since January, dropping 1 spot to 13th. It's the same story for Bayern. A dominant second half of the season sees them win the Bundesliga. Relegation this season going to the newly promoted teams in Darmstadt and Greuther 4th. Freiburg and Bochum seeing automatic promotion back from Bundesliga 2. And Nuremberg will keep their spot in the Bundesliga as they defeat Hamburg in the relegation playoffs. Bayern back-to-back winners in the DFB Pokal, with Hansa Rostock making a surprise appearance. Manchester City start the season with a win in the UEFA Super Cup against Lazio. Bayern now winning the Champions League, so that's a treble winning season for them. Getafe defeat Roma in the Europa League final, and Wolves get the win against Nantes in the Conference League. This was the season that saw Güler cement himself as a star at Schalke, 13 goals from 36 appearances, ranked him as the 12th best in the Bundesliga, as Vin takes the top spot with 28 from 33. Güler also leading the club in assists. It wasn't enough to feature in the top 15, but it's Tammy Abraham, who has now signed for Bayer Leverkusen and was the only player to reach double digits. At the end of each season, I'm going to be updating you on all the Youth Academy players that we sign and ultimately loan out, starting with Ryan Taylor, the American center forward, up +3 in his rating to 62. Julius Klein with some tremendous growth, up +10 to a 69 overall during his short-term loan spell. Good development from Kara as well. He spent the season at FC Twente, up +7 in his rating to a 70 overall. We'll stick with the +7 growth with Papadopoulos. He's up to a 69 overall during his season-long loan spell at Hull City. And 3 more newly promoted Youth Academy players. We found a decent talent from Germany. The 66th rated goalkeeper Johann Müller has 78 to 94 potential. Fabio Machado is a 62 rated right winger from Brazil, 81 to 94 potential. And we've also got a talent from Denmark, Sebastian Eriksson, 62 rated, 87 to 93 potential. We fell short on a couple of these board objectives, but our manager rating is still in a good spot. We want to shift the culture at Schalke to no longer fearing relegation to making strides and try to become one of the better teams in Germany. It wasn't that long ago that Schalke was consistently competing for Champions League football. We're probably still a ways from that, but board objectives this season looks for us to once again try to finish mid-table in the Bundesliga. Our transfer budget staying steady at roughly 25 or so million. But the signing that is going to kick off Season 3 is a big one. I always try to find a balance between realism and storylines. I am open to signing an 87 rated Manuel Neuer because we've now reached the summer of 2024, which is when his current contract with Bayern ends. You look at the situation over there, and there are some decisions for Thomas Tuchel to now make. Do you stay with the ever-consistent Manuel Neuer as he recovers from a long-term injury? Do you put your faith in Jan Sommer, who has been so good in the Bundesliga for a long time? Or do you go with the future talent Alexander Nubel, who's also a graduate of Schalke's Youth Academy? For me personally, it was a storyline that I wanted to make happen. I don't believe this is a transfer I made in last FIFA's Schalke rebuild. And I don't know what the future holds for Neuer, whether he wants to take on some sort of managerial or background role at a football club, but I wouldn't be shocked if it was either at Schalke or, of course, at Bayern. The fact that we were able to sign one of the world's best goalkeepers for 4.3 million is absolutely ridiculous, but I believe he had a release clause set, and that's going to give us the option to make some more transfers here in the summer. Speaking of Schalke Youth Academy graduates, we've got Julian Draxler available as a free agent, one of my all-time favorite FIFA players. He has a storied Bundesliga career, starting at Schalke, then transferring to Wolfsburg. His time at PSG hasn't been the best, with a most recent loan move at Benfica not going exactly to plan. I'm happy to pull off this move that the club has reportedly expressed interest in doing in real life, as Draxler plays a crucial squad role for us in the next 3 seasons. We're also going to be moving him to a left winger role, which will give him an increase to his rating. It's going to be defensive upgrades in back-to-back seasons, as we now sign a left-footed center back with Arthur Thiat. He's considered to be one of Belgium's most promising future talents. That's impressive to say, considering you've got the likes of Charles de Ketelaere and Jeremy Doku competing for the same prestige. He's had a fun career, starting at the Henk and Standard Liège Youth Academy system, then really thriving at Ostende, also playing seasons in both Serie A and now Liga 1. But he has developed into a really talented player at this point in the rebuild. We had to spend 20 million for this transfer, actually acquiring him for less than his current evaluation of 21.5 million. Closing out the signings in the summer with some squad depth at striker. Haven't yet signed Lorenzo Luca in a rebuild this year, but he's a player that I've been keeping my eyes on just because of how unique he is. You can spot out he's 6'7", the striker from Pisa, is spending the season on loan at Ajax. I don't know how well that's gone for him, considering they've had a tumultuous season with Ten Hag's exit. Alfred Schroeder started the season as manager, but now they're on to John Heitinga in charge as they try to compete for an Eredivisie title once again. But it's a 15 million deal for us to sign the 6'7" striker. He's developed nicely so far in this rebuild, up to a 77 rating. We will be seeing a few departures, starting with Marwan Puringer. It's Leicester City to sign him for 10 million. million. Yere Euronen will complete the move to Getafe in a 5 million transfer. Tobias Moore making the departure away to Club Brugge on a 4.5 million deal. Henning Matrasiani with an interesting departure to Celtic on a 4.5 million deal. And finally, Nassim Boujelleb will depart to Watford on a 3.5 million transfer. But another season of scouting starting with Germany for 9 months, searching for any type of player. The Netherlands for 9 months, also looking for any type of talent. And Austria will round things out with any type of player. 3 new Bundesliga fixtures to begin our season, and we already have seen a decrease to Manuel Neuer's rating, but I am thinking that we can start competing for European qualification because most of our starting 11 will keep seeing improvements. And for the first time in this rebuild, we don't start the season with a loss, rather a 1-1 draw against Frankfurt. And even the month following, we saw 3 victories, including a 2-1 win against Bayern in Manuel Neuer's return to the Allianz Arena. But January 2025 is where the important results will start factoring in. Partially due to poor performances league-wide, we somehow sit second in the table. I was not expecting that going into the season, but it goes to show how important it is to have a high-rated goalkeeper, especially for the simulations. However, with the Bundesliga season coming to a close, we have just 1 fixture remaining. That is going to be the DFB Pokal final against a fitting opponent with Borussia Dortmund. It's an important match for us because our league standings has dropped all the way down to 8th. If we want to secure European football for next season, we need to win this Pokal final, and the fact that it's a revered derby makes things even more special. It's going to start things with an opportunity from Güler playing through Vasquez. Could have taken a few more dribbles into the box. Instead, he goes with a long-range effort. But we respond well in the second half. It's Vasquez, no doubt, this time inside of the 18-yard box. He's going to make things 1-0 for us, and he's going to also hit Dortmund with a interesting celebration. The vibes are right here at Schalke, and we carry that forward into a 1-0 victory. Neuer lifts the first trophy for us in this rebuild, his first season back at Schalke, leads us some silverware and more importantly Europa League football next season. All in all, a great step up in season 3, 8th place in the Bundesliga and winners of the DFB Pokal. Relegation spots in the league going to Hertha Berlin and Bochum. As for Bundesliga 2, Werder Bremen and Hamburg see the return to Germany's top flight. Arminia Bielefeld will defeat Augsburg to take the step up alongside their Bundesliga 2 counterparts. Bayern begin the season with a win against Getafe in the UEFA Super Cup. Atleti defeat Barcelona in the Champions League. Marseille win against Spurs in the Europa League final. And Fiorentina will get the win against Mönchengladbach in the Conference League. Vasquez not only scored that crucial goal in the DFB Pokal final, but also led the club in goals scored. Not yet ranking into the top 15 though, as Abraham leads the way with 22 from 34. Güler consistently contributing assists for us, 11 from 39. That ranked him as the 4th best assist maker in the Bundesliga. Abraham also leading in this category. A great outing from Neuer as he had the 2nd most clean sheets in the league, and interestingly enough, Bayern still signed another goalkeeper with Kevin Trapp. It's an update for our players out on loan. Ryan Taylor up +3 to his 65 rating. Johan Muller up +4 to his 70 overall. Sebastian Eriksson has seen some tremendous growth, going up +8 during a season-long loan spell at Luton Town. Same can be said about Machado, up +8 to a 70 overall during a season-long loan spell in MLS. Carter continues to be one of the better Youth Academy promoted players, up +4 to a 74 overall. And Klein also in the mix, up +4 to a 73 overall. Not sure if Papadopoulos is going to reach the rating that we expected him to, only going +3 higher to a 72 rating. We set instructions to search for any type of player, and we found some exceptional ones. De Vries, a 69 rated goalkeeper from the Netherlands, 17 years old, 83 to 94 potential. Another Dutch talent with Jeroen de Leeuw, a 65 rated center attacking mid, just 15 years old with 85 to 94 potential. Florian Winter is a 64 rated right winger from Austria, 16 years old and 78 to 92 potential. A deserving upgrade to our manager rating. I'm excited for the next year of this rebuild. This season could very well test the limits of this Schalke team, whether we have the quality to compete among Europe's best clubs, and perhaps try to take the step up to the Champions League. The board no longer wants us to focus so heavily on finances, rather try to improve the quality of this team as we look to qualify once again for European competition and just reach the group stage of the Europa League. Still not many funds to work with, just over 30 million. and we'll kick off the signings with a player that has really had a remarkable debut in the Premier League with Kaoru Mitoma. He's certainly not taking the traditional route of a footballer, spending a lot more time at university, and his college thesis was on the art of dribbling. I'm going to leave a link to the video on the top right of your screen if you want to learn more about that. But it's still early days for him as a professional, so I don't think we quite yet know what his ceiling is going to be. But it's a 25 million move to complete this signing and bolster the left-hand side of our attack. Hopefully the former Brighton man can have just as good form in the Bundesliga. We will be shifting him from left midfield to left wing as we once again look at the free agents to add some more squad depth to our team. Maximilian Eggestein was one of my favorite talents just a few FIFAs ago while he was at Werder Bremen. His overall has stayed pretty consistent with his potential dropping a little bit. He wanted an important squad role, and I think he can compete to become a regular part of our midfield. We see a couple of departures. I wanted to free up some space from our youth academy with Papadopoulos heading to Ajax on what was a 5 million transfer. Johan Muller will make the move to MLS as he joins up with Toronto FC, also for 5 million. And Ryan Taylor, an exciting prospect, heads to Fiorentina, a club that has had some success in this rebuild, for 2.5 million. This season, Scouting Networks will see a couple of repeats to add more quality to our youth academy. Germany for 9 months searching for any type of player. Once again, making the trip to North America as we set up a network in the United States searching for any type of player, and also covering France as we look for any type of talent. But our season will see it start in the German Super Cup where we play Bundesliga winners Bayer Leverkusen. I think it's fair to say our starting 11 is Europa League quality. Whether we can compete for a league title is another story. But judging by this result, we can hold our own against some of Germany's best sides, defeating Leverkusen 2-1. That's another trophy within a span of a few months, and hopefully a sign of things to come here in Season 4. It was always going to be a tough next match against Bayern, which we lose 4-2. But the Europa League is going to be a big focus for us, as we have Shakhtar Donetsk, Copenhagen, and Shamrock Rovers in our group. Manar Solomon staying at Shakhtar Donetsk up to this point in the rebuild, up to an 82 overall. Rooney Bardakji, another big talent in career mode, staying at Copenhagen at a 77 rating. And Ireland has seen more and more promising young players develop in recent years. Justin Farisai is one of them. He's at a 67 overall at Shamrock Rovers. January 2026, and we'll check on results. In the Bundesliga, we sit 8th place, so a drop off compared to last season, but we go undefeated and win every single match in our Europa League group stage. That's what we wanted, and that's what we achieved. Neuer's still dropping in his rating, but fortunately the rest of our starting 11 making up for that with improvements as we start in the round of 16 of the Europa League against Rangers. They actually have a former Schalke player with Robbie Motondo. He left the club, I want to say 2 years ago during a loan spell, and now he's at Rangers on a permanent basis and at a 74 overall in career mode. We win the first leg of this fixture 1-0 courtesy of a goal from Julian Draxler, and it's Mitoma to score a goal in the second leg to give us a 2-0 win on aggregate, and now we can face Real Betis in the quarterfinals. Yunus Musa making a move within Spain, transferring from Valencia to Betis. He's at an 82 rating at this point. However, we win the first leg 3-0, goals from Vasquez, Mitoma, and Draxler. The second leg also going in our favor by a pretty big margin. 7-1 on aggregate puts us up against Atleti in the semifinals. This is a club that is featured in the Champions League finals, so it's a tough test for us, especially when we have to play against a former Schalke player with Leon Goretzka. But a huge result in the first leg, 2-0, gives us the advantage as we travel away to Spain and did enough to see the match out with a 2-1 win on aggregate. It means we'll face Liverpool in the Europa League final. They have Jude Bellingham. What a move that would be for the side out of Anfield. But with this being the last match of the season, I figured we could cover some other results. We saw a bit of a resurgence in the Bundesliga, ultimately finishing 6th. Also a change in league winner with Leipzig, crowned victorious this year. Hamburg and Arminia Bielefeld will see relegation to Bundesliga 2, with Augsburg and Hertha Berlin earning promotion to the top flight of Germany. Nuremberg will keep their place in the Bundesliga as they defeat Darmstadt 3-1 on aggregate. Dortmund win the Pokal against Bayern in der Klassiker. Atleti starting the season with a win in the UEFA Super Cup against Marseille. Champions League winner was Inter, and the Conference League winner was Athletic Club Bilbao. But a huge opportunity for us. Can we go from the Europa League this season to Champions League next year? and more importantly, add another trophy to our collection in the rebuild. I think both teams have had fairly difficult roads to the final, especially that semifinals fixture against Atleti for us, but it was Jude Bellingham that started the match with a close effort. I don't think Neuer knew how close that actually was, just going a few inches or feet wide, but it's Gabriel picking the ball up here towards the end of the first half, and it's a huge save from Neuer to deny the effort and keep the match level going into the break. We're going to make a change in the 69th minute with Vasquez being brought off and Luka being brought on. It only took a few moments for him to make an impact as Kral pushes the ball forward. Luka gets played into space and on his left foot will go to the far post, and it's a 1-0 advantage for Schalke. I think it's fair to say we were the non-favored side going into this match, but we played as a unit, held our shape defensively, and Neuer, what an impact he has made at Schalke since his return, helping us lift the Pokal, the German Super Cup, and now the Europa League in the span of just 2 years. 2 trophies for us this year and a respectable outing in the Bundesliga. You can't ask for much more. For goal contribution, this is the year of Julian Draxler, 20 goals from 51 appearances. A lot of those actually coming in the Europa League, as the only player for us to feature in the top 15 was Mitoma. It was Tammy Abraham who once again leads the way with goals scored alongside Charles de Ketelaere. Draxler also had the most assists of the club, 14 from 51. That did put him in the top 15 of the Bundesliga, along with Güler. It was Kvara who led the way though, 11 from 32 at Wolfsburg. Another solid outing from Neuer though, 3rd most clean sheets in the league, and Marmardashvili, another talent from Georgia who led the way in this category. Loan updates coming through, starting with Florian Winter, up +4 during a season-long loan spell at St. Pauli. De Vries went up +4 in his overall over at Montpellier. Machado starting to get into the mix of squad rotation as he went up +5 during a season-long loan at Club Bruges. Same thing for Eriksson. The Dane went up +4 in his overall to a 74 rating at Espanyol. Julius Klein spent the season at Napoli. He went up +4 to a 77 rating. And Kara spent the year in Liga 1. He went up +5 to a 79 overall. We've got no shortage of goalkeepers to choose from. Dennis Kraft is the latest added, a 71 rated talent from Germany, 17 years old, 79 to 93 potential. An update on De Leo, he's now eligible for promotion, up to a 69 rating. The center attacking mid has 92 to 94 potential. Chris Harris is the latest talent added from the United States. He's 65 rated. The right winger has 73 to 94 potential. Arthur Blanchard, our French talent, 61 rated. The left winger has 85 to 94 potential. Our manager rating keeps on going up and up. We're into the 90s heading into season 5. Champions League football has made its way back to Schalke 04, and that means some changes ahead to our starting 11. We're at that awkward point where Neuer is slightly lower than I'd like for his overall rating, but he's also retiring at the end of the season, so I think we'll let him finish his Schalke career as our number 1. But you can expect some turnover in the squad, looking to sell 3 players, finish in a Champions League spot in the Bundesliga, and reach the quarterfinal of the Champions League. Finally, we see a rise to our transfer budget, just about doubling to 60 million. And we'll begin the signings with Bjorn Meyer. The newly added left back at Club Bruges has had an exceptional season so far. He has some interesting characteristics, quite tall as a left back, 6'3", also has some fantastic shooting ability. He's already scored some great goals for Club Bruges this season. It's about time for him to move to a top 5 league, having already added Champions League experience for Club Bruges. Pretty sizable transfer fee, having to spend 40 million, but he's a long-term investment for us at left back. That 81 rating is going to go up. We've already brought back a lot of former Schalke players, but now that the club is in a better spot, I think it's alright to do so. Mliktiau is a center back that has been on the rise as of late. He's recently just gotten his first call up to the German national team after he represented Germany in the 2021 U21 European Championships. I think if he keeps going as he's going, he has a bright future ahead for Milan. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked out in this rebuild as he's transferred away to Spezia. But for a 30 million fee, we've added a versatile defender who should become a considerable part of our starting 11. Because of those arrivals, we will see some big name departures. Oyan, who was a big part early on this rebuild, heads to Nottingham Forest on a 20 million fee. Brunner, another early starting 11 player, heads to Brighton on a 15 million transfer. Karius returns to the Super League on a 1.5 million move to Galatasaray. And we've got another Super Cup to begin our season. This one will be the UEFA Super Cup against Champions League winners Inter. The starting 11 is, in my opinion, good enough for the Champions League. All the while, we make some changes to youth academy players like Kara, who switches to a striker role. Inter was a good opening test, and we brought it to extra time, but it's Moise Kean that scores the winning goal. However, we rebound in the Bundesliga as we pick up a 1-0 win against Werder Bremen. But this season's Champions League group stage has some great storylines. Milan is, of course, Thiau's former club. Liverpool, we just faced them in the Europa League final. And Club Brugge is the former team of Meyer, our left back. We'll review some of the best players in the Champions League group stage. Victor Osimhen transferring to Milan at a 90 overall. Pedri making the move to Liverpool at a 92 rating. And finally, Santiago Simon, an 83 rated talent at Club Brugge. We'll review results January 2027. And we have seen a swift rise in the Bundesliga standings just outside of a top 4 and Champions League spot. We have advanced out of our Champions League group, doing just enough to advance alongside Liverpool. Really no complaints to our starting 11 as Kara takes over at the striker position. Finally, one of our youth academy players good enough to break into our starting 11. The round of 16 in the Champions League will see us face Sporting, who have completed the signing of another former Schalke player, Ozan Kabak, at now an 81 rating. And it was a 1-1 draw in the opening fixture, but Sporting were victorious in the second leg. So an early exit for us from the Champions League, but we still have something to play for at the end of the Bundesliga season. It's a match against Union Berlin. A win could push us into the top 4, which would of course give us Champions League football again next year. Perhaps more important than league standings is that this will be the final match for Manuel Neuer in his legendary career. He's made quite the return back to Schalke, helping us lift several trophies, and now hopefully we can see one more good 90-minute performance. We nearly open things up with Salazar, the finesse shot effort going off of the post, and in the second half, it's Union Berlin that get the lead. Just a good finish from their striker Mendes, and we were trying to find a way to respond here in the last couple minutes of this match, but we just couldn't seem to answer back, and I think the frustration was starting to come into play. We needed a goal in this situation, and maybe we need to find another answer for us at striker. Relative to the last few seasons, it's been a disappointing year at Schalke, but recapping league results, it's Bayern to win the Bundesliga. Once again, it's Leipzig, Dortmund, and Leverkusen to round out the top 4. Relegation spots going to Nuremberg and Werder Bremen, with promotion spots going to Bochum and Darmstadt. St. Pauli will defeat Freiburg as they also see promotion from Bundesliga 2. And it's important that the DFB Pokal final consisted of 2 teams that already finished top 4. That means we have secured Europa League football once again as a result of our 6th place finish. Bayern will win the Champions League against Juventus. Sevilla defeats Spurs in the Europa League final, and it's Lyon to get the win against Eintracht Frankfurt in the Conference League. This was Kara's first half of season as our starting striker, and the goals came in abundance, 18 from 41. That ranked him as the 4th best goal scorer in the Bundesliga. Kvara with 24 from 34 and having a great career at Wolfsburg. Mitoma, another solid year, 8 assists from 42. It ranked him as the 8th best assist player in the Bundesliga. 2 Bayern players up top with Skamaka and Vlahovic. Neuer has been on the decline each and every season, but I think he's done just enough for us at Schalke. This season, he was the 7th best goalkeeper in the Bundesliga as far as clean sheets go. De Leo, arguably the best youth academy talent as far as potential goes, up +5 this season during a season-long loan spell at Watford. Another MLS loan, this time for the American Chris Harris, up +4 to a 69 rating. Dennis Kraft might be our goalkeeper answer for the future. He spent the season at Augsburg going up +4 to a 75 overall. Florian Winter up +3 to a 71 rating at Deportivo Alaves. De Vries spent the season backing up Manu Neuer, going up +2 in his overall to a 76. Machado up +3 to a 78 rating while he was over at Lazio. Eriksson up +5 to a 79 overall at Betis. Klein has reached the 80s. He's up +3 in his overall to an 80 rating during a loan spell at Leipzig. And of course, our starting striker Kara up +5 to an 84 rating. Maybe it's better that we're dropping down to the Europa League because our manager rating is in danger of getting sacked. The last time I embarked on a Schalke rebuild, something similar happened where we were hovering between Champions League and Europa League football. I am excited about more of these youth academy players coming through the ranks into the first team, and I think our goalkeeper decision has been decided. Kraft has potential to be special. That's compared to De Vries, who's only showing great potential. But for board objectives, it looks like we need to let players leave and reduce wages. Look to qualify for European competition in the Bundesliga and reach the quarterfinal of the Europa League. Our transfer budget hasn't changed all that much, so we should still have some funds at our disposal to make signings. But starting with the departures, it was a matter of time before we got a big offer from FC Bayern. It was for Mitoma, who leaves on a 55 million deal. Vasquez is still a quality striker, but he lost his starting spot, so we let him leave to the Premier League as he joins Leicester City for 26.5 million. With Bayern signing one of our players, I figured let's do the same to them. Leroy Sané, another Schalke Youth Academy player. He embarked on a journey in the Premier League at Manchester City for a while and then signed with Bayern. Now he competes consistently to earn starting 11 minutes just because of how many good players they have. When he's in form, I think you can make the argument that he's one of the world's best wingers, and maybe he can find that form more consistently here at Schalke. We'll complete the deal on what was a 40 million transfer, only 5 million more than his current evaluation, and we will be moving him forward from left midfield to left wing. Our next incoming arrival is Justin Shea. He's featured at the second teams for both Bayern and Hoffenheim. I've heard he's recently got a call up to play for the senior Hoffenheim squad. It's nice to hear him getting consistent minutes in the Bundesliga and in general playing abroad. There seems to also be a bit of a connection between Schalke and the FC Dallas Youth Academy. Mind you, West McKennie, another Schalke player, came through Dallas's Youth Academy just like Shea. With him being a promising player for the future, we had to spend 25 million on this transfer. Once again, 5 million more than the player's valuation. And it's going to take a couple weeks, but I prefer having him as a right back. It's just easier to develop his stats further. But a tough start to our Bundesliga season will begin the year against Bayern. And here is the starting 11 with all the transfers said and done. Still think it's a team that can compete in the Europa League and hopefully find some good form in the Bundesliga as well. A 0-0 draw against Bayern to start our season, and our Europa League group will consist of Henk, Rakov, and Helsinki. Benjamin Henriks making the transfer to the Belgian Pro League as he stands at an 80 overall. Rakov's best player is Kovacevic, who's at a 77 overall. And a pretty decent potential right back here at Helsinki as he stands at a 71 rating. We're creeping up on the 2030 mark, but halfway through the season, we sit 7th place, similar to how we've done previous years in the Bundesliga. And in our Europa League group, we once again will finish first. 13 points means one fewer fixture to play in the knockout stages. Our plan to incorporate more of these Youth Academy players seems to be playing in our favor, as well as with some position changes. If we stay true to this, I think it'll work out in the long run, but we have one pre-contract departure in January, Cisse leaving MK Dons on a free transfer. But a round of 16 matchup in the Europa League will begin against Celtic. They have completed the signing of one of our players, Matriciani, now at a 73 rating over in Scotland. But it was a 3-2 result as we win the first leg and a 2-1 victory in our home fixture. Both of those goals coming from Salazar. That puts us through to the quarterfinals where we'll play Barcelona. A tough matchup to say the least, but they've completed the signing of Iker Bravo, who has a really cool career. He is a former Barca Youth Academy player, joined Leverkusen and has also spent some time out on loan at Real Madrid. But a big 2-0 win in the first leg and a 2-1 victory in the second leg. Against all odds, we're through to the semifinals where we play Inter, another opponent that has reached the Champions League before. It's an ex-Dortmund player at their club, Daniel Malen, up to an 83 rating. And the quality of Inter's team really showed a 5-1 result in the first leg. If it counts for anything, we win the second leg, but still lose 6-3 on aggregate. And that moves us forward to our final Bundesliga fixture and a chance for us to secure Champions League football next year. There was definitely some nerves going into this fixture. I'd rather just win and not have to rely on a 5th place team dropping points, but some great dribbling from Salazar to find Güler on his left foot will be finding the first goal for us 40 minutes in front of our home fans. And this is what we needed. More goal scoring, especially from some of our younger and creative talents. I think the fact that we played in front of our home fans added to morale, and ultimately we got the job done. A respectable season after one that was fairly disappointing. A 4th place finish in the Bundesliga will secure us Champions League football as Dortmund take the league title. Relegation spots this year going to St. Pauli and Darmstadt. Nuremberg and Werder Bremen once again returning to the Bundesliga, with Freiburg winning the relegation playoffs. Dortmund at a 2nd with the DFB Pokal, defeating Mainz in the final as Sevilla get the win against Bayern in the UEFA Super Cup. PSG victorious against Real Madrid in the Champions League final. Milan winning an all-Italian Europa League final. And Newcastle United will pick up the victory in the Conference League against Stade Rennais. Year after year, Carr continues to improve. 26 goals this season from 49 appearances. ranking him as the 7th best goal scorer in the Bundesliga, as Charles de Ketelaere is now the sole Golden Boot winner. Güler also getting into the double digits for assists, and this time leading the Bundesliga, the only player to achieve that feat in the league. And a Youth Academy loan update. De Leeuw up +3 to a 77 overall. Chris Harris only going up +2 on a season-long loan to a 71 overall. Florian Winter developing nicely, up +3 to a 74 rating. Dennis Croft getting a lot of first-team action, going up +5 to an 80 overall. De Vries, a quality backup option, going up +1 to a 77 rating. Eriksson up +1 to an 81 overall. And Machado with some tremendous growth, up +9 to an 87 rating. Julius Klein not developing too much anymore, staying at an 80 overall. And finally, Kara up +2 to an 86. Our manager rating back into the green, and Champions League football is also back at Schalke. Once you start to get a few seasons deep into a career mode save, squads start to look more and more unfamiliar. I'm happy to report we still got a few original Schalke players in the starting 11. Our board objectives for the season should have no problem keeping our manager rating high, as we need to finish in a top 4 spot in the Bundesliga and reach the semi-final of the Champions League. Roughly 90 million to work with in our transfer budget, and we're going to keep these former Schalke players coming back to the club. Leon Goretzka, he's played for some high-profile teams since he left Schalke, including Bayern, and in this save, Atletico Madrid, and now PSG. But the midfielder spent 5 solid seasons at Schalke, and he has stated that he always enjoys coming back to Gelsenkirchen. You might remember he actually left on a free to Bayern. That is not the case at all here, as he arrives on a 35 million transfer fee. It was under his evaluation, though, of 42 million. But that'll be all for incoming rivals as we start our season against Bochum. I think our starting 11 is already good enough. We've got a nice combination of veteran leadership like Sane captaining the squad, and youth academy players on the rise for their rating. A 2-1 win in our season opener, and now we can turn our attention to the Champions League group stage. PSG, Galatasaray, and Copenhagen. Obviously, there are some superstars at PSG. Mbappe now up to a 95 rating. Zaniolo staying at Galatasaray for the entirety of this rebuild at an 84 overall. And an update on Rooney Bardakji. It was a couple of seasons ago that we played against Copenhagen. He's now up to an 82 overall. We'll check on results here in January 2029, and we find ourselves second in the Bundesliga. Both us and Bayern actually haven't lost a match yet, so it's going to be very interesting to see how the year ends. We also top our Champions League group, so all in all, a very good outing in the first half of the year. Really, the only thing that went against us was a longer-term injury for Goretzka. Salazar fitting right into the midfield, but Goretzka should be back within the next month or two as he recovers from a broken toe injury. First, we'll need to face Real Madrid in the round of 16 of the Champions League. They have completed the signing of Kai Havertz, one of, if not the highest potential German player in career mode. But it was a 3-1 win in the first leg as Goretzka returns to action, and Madrid force extra time as they get a 2 goals back. Fortunately, though, we do end up winning the match on penalties, converting all 5 of our chances. And I'll match us up against Leipzig in the quarterfinals, another high-profile team in career mode, as they have completed the signing of Bukayo Saka from Arsenal at a 90 overall. It was a 1-1 draw in the first leg, goals coming from Clark and Kara, but Leipzig were victorious in the second leg. So our Champions League dreams come to an end, but there is something that might happen on our final Bundesliga match day. We're equal on points with Bayern, so we need to rely on them realistically to either get a loss or a draw. Still a lot to play for, though, as Dortmund were Pokal winners this year against Bayern. Milan defeating PSG in the UEFA Super Cup to start the season, and also winning the Champions League against Leipzig in the final. Newcastle United get the win against Nice in the Europa League, and Monaco defeat Austria Wien in the Conference League. Heading into this final match day, Kara has 21 goals from 45 appearances. Not exactly up to par compared to previous years, but he still ranks as the 8th best goal scorer in the Bundesliga. Moukoko, by and far the leader with 23 from 33. Machado with a good year, 10 assists alongside his 16 goals. It ranks him as the 3rd best assist maker in the Bundesliga. And Kraft now reaching that elite level as he leads the Bundesliga in clean sheets. It's a quick update on some of our former youth academy players. I wanted to see where they're at, and Papadopoulos is up to an 81 overall, so he more or less reached his potential that he started with. Johan Muller at a 79 rating at Toronto, and Ryan Taylor at a 78 rating at Racing Club. The Stars have almost perfectly aligned a home fixture to end our season and a chance to win a Bundesliga title. It's a big missed chance in the opening minutes off of a corner kick, Meyer unable to convert. And it was in the 30th minute that I thought Bochum would take the league, but a big save from Kraft. As we take a look at scores at the halftime break, Bayern and Werder Bremen are drawing, so if we can get a win and scorelines stand, we would be on top of the table. The minutes are coming to a close and we're pressing, trying to win back possession. Goretzka finding Kara over to Güller, and what an opportunity. The first player we signed in this rebuild, his shot goes off of the crossbar. Mesut Özil can't believe it. As the match does come to a close, it's level points. But with time expiring, I was taking note of the celebrations and I wasn't sure what was happening. And then I saw more celebrations from the squad. That can only mean one thing. Werder Bremen have done us a solid, defeated Bayern, another one of Özil's former teams, have given us the fairy tale ending to this rebuild. Leroy Sané lifting the Bundesliga title in front of the home fans. Despite all the highs and lows of this career mode, I wouldn't have wanted it any other way.